everybody. I guess I'm live. It says I am. I'm trying this again. It's been a hassle with this internet connection stuff going on. I just don't. It makes no sense. Anyway, I'm very late today. I've been working on my car, which that's where I'm at right now in my car, because it's cold outside, and the bugs. So, not that the bugs wouldn't really bother me as cold as it is, but they do. So, anyway. I'm trying to get a message to y'all. I'm going to try to do this message on 1 Chronicles 19. If the internet and technology will cooperate, even though I'm late today because I've been really working on this car hard trying to get it going. I'm almost there. It needs transmission fluid. One thing after another. Hopefully I'll get some of that and put it in there tomorrow. It'll be moving down the road. So, we'll see what happens. Anyway, my sister's back home from the hospital today. Thank God. She still got her treatments with the home health coming though. So, 6 weeks of them coming twice a day. So, y'all pray for her. I don't know if y'all can see me very well. It's dark in here. Oh well, at least y'all hear the word. At 10 o'clock at night. But I didn't do a message yesterday. So I told Laura, I said, I gotta get it done. No, I get everyone done today. It's still today, so we're gonna get it done. This message is David's kindness, the king's resolve, and how no good deed goes unpunished. In this chapter of 1 Chronicles recounts a series of events involving King David, the Ammonites, and the Armenians, which was the Syrians. No, the Armenians. Syrians, they're Syrians. And it details this beginning of this major war to comfort him. And, and he did this because Nahash had been kind to him once. So, because of Nahash's kindness to David once, David thought that he should be kind to go comfort his son, as Nahash had died. And, so, that's what this gesture referred to. It was that previous kindness that he had been shown. That he wanted to show this back to Nahash's son by, in Nahash's honor. For him showing his kindness to him, that he would go and he would have these ambassadors go and comfort his son after his death, after his father's death. Always seeking peace. And it's in a way that's what it was too. Was a gesture. And good, he's not sent these ambassadors here or anything good. He sent them over here to spy on us. He sent these men, they're spies. They're coming to look at what you got. And then they're gonna come and invade us. And so Hanun, which is the Nahash's son, he takes and he seizes these ambassadors of David, these men that David had sent, he seizes them, takes them hostage or prisoner, treating them like criminals, and they humiliate them. In their culture, their beards were a sign of respect, and they weren't supposed to be shaven. If they were shaven, they were slaves, and people lower guard were shaved. So if they didn't shave their beards, and to shave their beards was humiliating for them to go around with clean shaven faces. They thought that was humiliating. So they shaved their beards. Or half their beards, actually. It says in one account that it was half. They had. So, I mean, I don't know if they'd shaved this half or what. I don't know. But anyway, they made them look, they made a point to make them look odd. They also cut their garment. They had long robes. They wore long robes. And they cut the garment off up around their hips to where they were, from their waist down, they were just naked. It's like pantsing somebody. So they shaved half their beards and they pantsed them. They just humiliated them. And sent them back to David humiliated like this. And David, being the compassionate leader that he was, he hears about this. He goes to his men, these men that they were in Jericho. They hadn't came back to Jerusalem. They was in Jericho, and he tells them, he's like, that because they've been publicly shamed, and they're so ashamed they don't want to see David. So David has to go to them. And David goes to them and he tells them, it's okay. It's like, y'all stay here and go let your beards grow back out. And so nobody has to see y'all this way. And before y'all come back, he didn't want them to be humiliated any more than they already were. He wanted to safeguard what dignity they still had, And he didn't blame them. They didn't do anything wrong. And so of course, after this point, these the Ammonites, which is that's who these were. Hanun was son of Nahash, and they was Ammonites. They realized they messed up. At some point they realized we shouldn't have done what we did. We done offended a powerful king. We done offended David, and we can't see how he's gonna let this this ride well, because that's the way they thought, So they said, he's fixing to come after us. We know he's gonna come after us. He's a powerful king, and David ain't gonna let this go. He's fixing to come he's coming after us. It's gonna be a war. So because they're anticipating war, they go and start making these alliances with these coalition, one with the Syrians from these various different territories. All these Syrians from different territories, they start buying alliance with them. They're going to pay them to go in league with them to help them defend themselves against David, because they're sure that he's coming for them. And so, of course, David responds to this by sending his mighty men. they um you know they hired the Ammonites hired these mercenaries. Like I said, they were mercenaries. What they were, when they were going to have to hire these folks to help them defend themselves. And this shows that there's a consequence when you're hostile. You know, this hostility that they had toward David, and then them doing what they did made them have to rely on these other foreigners to help protect themselves, when it was unnecessary step, when they could have just made peace with David. They didn't have to do it as ambassadors the way they did. You know, I mean, they said they made themselves odious. They made themselves an enemy of David for no reason. So, you know, like I said, David has to go he sends out his mighty men, Joab and Abishai, and, you know, their brothers, and the mighty men, this army that he's done amassed. He don't waste no time. It's a decisive action. He had, you know, his military acumen. He made the decisive action that what he had to do, and so he sends out this top commander. You know, his top commanders, Joab and the army, to confront this imminent threat, because the Ammonites done amassed this whole army, their army, and all these mercenaries, and they're out there waiting. They're setting the battle in array. It says they're out there ready to fight. So David has no choice. So he sends out his army, and the enemy forces think that they're going to be smart. They take on the strategy that they were going to divide themselves into two armies. One, the Ammonites, and then the mercenaries. And they were to divide each other and divide. And so, of course, David's men decide that they got to do the same thing. And Joab goes against so they have two fronts going on here. So then Joab, you know, and Abishai find themselves, his brothers, they find themselves facing this two-pronged attack, wherever you got the Ammonites and the Syrians. They're two separate forces coming at them from different ways. So, of course, Joab and Abishai make the decision that they have to, because the Ammonites are at the city gate, and our Arameans, or the Syrians, are in an unopened country. So they say, Joab says, I'm going to go against, I'm taking the best troops, and I'm going to fight the Syrians. And he tells Abishai to go and fight the Ammonites. But he says, if the Syrians become too strong for me, then you can help me. But if the Ammonites are too strong for you, I'm going to help you. So, it's a divide and conquer kind of strategy going on here. But they're going to back each other up, whichever one. They're going to see which one's stronger, which force is the stronger force. And they kind of testing the waters kind of thing. And then if it turns out that this side's stronger, then you come over here and help me, or I come over there and help you. We're going to work this thing out together. And it's the perfect strategy against this strategy that they took of dividing the forces. And you know, this demonstrates that this brilliant military, that he was a great military, you know, he had good military strategy, but this also demonstrates brotherhood, and so we back each other up, we got each other's back, no matter what. So then Joab gives them this rallying cry um, in verses 12 and 13, where he says, "Be strong and let us behave ourselves valiantly for our people and for the cities of our God, and let the Lord do what is good in his sight." So he knew that the battle was ultimately the Lord's, and we're going to be strong and courageous, and the Lord's going to do what's right. He handed the battle over to him. And, this was showing his courage and his faith and his patriotism for his country, or or his city, that his people. He was fighting for the benefit of the people and of his king. So Yoav's strategy and the soldiers' courage resulted in the Syrians fled first. They took off and they abandoned the Ammonites. And as soon as the Ammonites saw that the Syrians had fled, they took off too. They retreated into the city. And then the Syrians, for some reason they decided to come back. I guess they went and got reinforcements or something and came back. They're a little bit larger. They went and they got some more. I guess that's probably fled. I guess they thought, well, we ain't got enough. And so that led David to take off. He came out himself and crossed the Jordan with his men, and he met them, and he put it to bed. He took care of it, and he, by squashing the Syrians and the by this the size of this defeat that he when David the king rides out, takes the field of battle and has this decisive victory against the Syrians, and it honestly it was such a blow that because as I said before, that had a I have a hard time saying that Hadadezer, which was the general of the Syrians. They then faced off with David before. And, as I said, David personally gathered the people over across the Jordan and faced them. And, this showed his rural leadership. That this is the king, and he was going to battle against this enemy. And it was like I said, it was such a decisive defeat and victory that these Syrians had to believe that by now that David was divinely protected. He in this battle he killed so many. It says it was a massive number of chariots, horsemen, and even the he killed them all. It was a slaughter. And it was such an overwhelming victory. They had to believe that he was, divinely protected, and that God was with him. And as a result, as I said, these Armenian vassals, these places that were like vassal states, which meant they had to pay tribute to Syrians. They made peace with David. believes this sets the stage for being able to conquer the Ammonites completely. Because they're done cut off. They're isolated. They have no support. And that's what consistently winning every battle that was thrown at him. I mean, he didn't start stuff, but he had to finish them. Because he was acting as God's anointed king, and he was blessed by God because God was going to make sure that his promises were, prevailed and stayed true. So, David, like I said, in this whole thing, he had these righteous intentions. He wanted to go show kindness to people, and to the gospel, this chapter prefigures the necessary warfare of the ultimate Davidic king, which is Jesus. David's initial act of kindness, which was rejected and led to conflict, mirrors how Christ's ultimate act of kindness, his life and offer of peace, is often rejected by the world, leading to spiritual conflict. Jesus, like David, is the victorious king who overcomes hostile coalitions. The decisive victory that secures peace anticipates Christ's final ultimate victory over sin, death, and spiritual enemies, which establishes everlasting peace for those under his rule. And for spiritual growth, the chapter teaches the necessity of courageous, faith-filled action in the face of adversity. Joab's charge to be strong and let the Lord do what is good in his sight is a vital lesson. Believers are called to exert maximum effort or fight bravely. He's trying to do something nice out of his heart. He ain't get nothing but a bunch of grief. Because everybody else had their own ideas, and it was a bunch of misunderstandings. And they had David figured all wrong. Because they was looking at things the way the rest of looking at David the way they would look at every other king. But David wasn't like every other king. David was God's king. So, the world looks at things one way, but God looks at things another way. And the misunderstandings happen when people can't understand that. But there's a lot of suffering happens because of misunderstandings like that. Because they want to get people all wrong. They want to get God's people all wrong. Anyway. I guess that's it for tonight. I hope it came out alright. I hope we got through it. It was a pretty good chapter. It sure was a mess. Them poor ambassadors. Anyway. I love y'all. Maybe I'll see y'all back here tomorrow. We'll see. Say a prayer for my sister and for my car. I hope some of this work that I've been doing, it's been rougher lately. It's winding down, and I might get to take a little bit of a rest for a minute. From that work, anyway. I'm never going to be able to rest from the Lord's work. I know that much. I mean, He'll give you a little respite every once in a while. But can't lay down on the Lord. I'll see y'all later.